Hi, everyone. This is Mandia on Astral Oracles coming to you with a channeling on spirit animals. I just had the oddest thing happen to me. I often do, but I thought I'd try to share this situation with you. I was bitten by some kind of strange insect. Actually, looking for a rock I could place the camera on as I was about to channel the Elohim for you outside, and I promise I'm bringing them to you soon. But I'd rather try to ask Mother Earth what is going on because I've had all these weird spider experiences down here. First of all, in this cabana where I'm at, there was an infestation of huntsman spiders around the main door, and not the huge ones that live in Southeast Asia or Australia, but they're still like the size of a child's palm, and they're really quick. So I essentially fumigated the whole place, and now I hope the spiders are dead, but I hope I don't get cancer down the road. Knock on wood, right? But I had a weird experience happen to me at the beginning, right after I triggered my Kundalini awakening. I began writing this novel, which has been put on hold. I might return to it someday, and in that a main theme was golden orb spiders, or golden weavers. And I actually also, the first morning I was here, met one right outside the main door. And then I met a black widow up behind the fridge in the communal area. And the weird thing that I wanted to relate was after I wrote this passage about these spiders, I went to the local supermarket and I picked up some pomegranates. And there I was sort of distractedly fiddling with that, that cavity that pomegranates have in the bottom of the fruit body. And then I sliced it open, and a black widow popped out, and it must have been a Turkish black widow or a Mediterranean black widow, because at least that was where the fruit was supposed to be from. And that has sort of messed with me ever since. But now I got bitten in the little finger, and I sort of had the impression that it was a black widow spider, and I was quick to suck out the poison. And then I thought, very clever mess, but then I realized that my lip was swelling, and the poison was getting into my skull, and now I feel oddly intoxicated. I don't feel particularly sick, but I do feel like something very weird and somewhat hallucinatory is going on with me, and the best thing I can liken it to is Datura, this family of nightshade ancient witches plants, which I've only experimented with once, but they have like a very weird delusional vibration, and I just thought the opportunity of trying to bring this through was too great to pass up. So I hope you bear with me, and I hope I'm making at least a little sense to you out there. And I've been wanting to do this channeling on spirit animals also because I actually sense that I have a very deep connection to spiders um, and I've always been very afraid of them. But there's also a deep fascination with these type of very alien creatures, at least seen from the human perspective. So let's try to get Mother Earth to talk to us about our personal spirit animals and about the intoxication of poison. And maybe I should also add that this is a method that has been used in shamanic or mystic rituals throughout time. And of course, there are still weird sects who handle snakes on purpose, but there's also the phenomenon that is known as Kista Mystica, or the mystic chest, which essentially allegedly was a chest full of venomous snakes that acolytes of certain of the mystery cults in the Hellenistic era would use to um, deliberately bite them and then provoke we had psychoactive experiences through them. So let's see what she says. Yes, this is the energy of your Mother Earth coming to you to talk about the many different life forms and your relationship to them. Our friend here is correcting us. We sense that his cerebrum is a little disturbed, partially from the shock and partially from the odd influence that is flowing through him. Indeed, it was an arachnid that bit him. Indeed, it is a powerful poison that is exerting itself on his body and mental frame, but we can also assure him that he removed so much of it, and the creature was so minute that he was unable to locate it afterwards. But know that these experiences, as you all know, they manifest for a reason. You connect to certain experiences, you manifest them to teach you lessons, and the lesson he has been wanting to teach himself is that there is essentially nothing to fear from the powerful agents that these animals carry. There is nothing to fear from the touch of the spider, and there is nothing to fear from all these animals that so many of you are afraid of. But know that most of these animals that you carry an irrational fear of, they present a type of very powerful possibility to you. Many of these creatures that are normal to hold a great degree of irrational fear of in particular human beings include rats, include amphibians, toads, lizards, include spiders and arachnids and insects, and include indeed the serpents, all powerful animals. And you can essentially use your fear to identify which animals you connect the greatest sense of power to. Is it possible for you to begin to approach this mystery of your fear as a gift that has been shared with you by the great Earth Mother? See, you do not exist in your physical frame alone on this planet. You may have tried to create artificial environments, but life always gets in, and when you seek to attract a certain experience, that experience will indeed present itself. And so this curious individual with the curious mind, he has sought out the spiders and environments in which they live because he wanted to teach himself that being in the proximity of his fear is essentially the greatest gift he can give himself, because it reminds him that life is not to be taken for granted, and life is indeed a gift that also contains the possibility of death within it. And so uniting with your spirit animal is usually uniting with the duality of existence, the creation of life forms and the passing of these life forms again into the void of the unmanifest. I lend my energy to all these. They are all as important to me as you are. And indeed know that there are powerful channels of energy that run through these currents. You may sense a stirring of great force within you, even just by beholding them. And indeed, the idea of touching these creatures deliberately, it seems so apprehensive and unpleasant to most of you that you shy away from them. And so they are teaching you the lesson that you are not quite comfortable on this earth yet. Human beings, this human being included, and so many of you who interact with this message, who also interact with the other messages of the astral friends that are coming through this being, you sense that you are not quite at home here. You have tried to terraform your environments. You have a fantasy of creating Earth-like planets on other barren planets that lie close to you and may be accessible to you physical by traveling through the spaces between these heavenly bodies. But indeed, are you able to create an environment that balances out all life forms and energies, fills out all ecological niches simply by bringing the life forms that you prefer and that you like to interact with to these foreign environments? I, your great Earth Mother, I would call this a rhetorical question, because I think not humans have not yet moved into the ability of giving life to entire ecosystems. Indeed, when you move up the dimensional ladder, you will begin to fill these planets with different life forms, just as my body volunteered to be filled with the different genetic codes, some of them arising from experiments carried out over time in my environments as they shifted in relationship to the sun and the astral energies, as the heat levels and shifted and the continents moved about on your planet, crashing together, separating, opening great craters and changing the atmosphere. All these things have come to pass, and all these things will come to pass. But indeed, our friend here is asking about how to accept your alignment with the spirit animal. Know that your spirit animal, in its symbolism, always holds the key to the forces within you that you wish to unlock, and that is indeed why these are related to your own personal plan, your own personal purpose, that thing called your divine will, which you act out and exert upon my surface, interacting with me, but indeed also influencing many of these animals. And so, as you move into higher and higher degrees of what you call civilization, or what I may call controlled processes and technologies that usually rely on heat or manipulation of very dense, very solid state matters such as metals, you will find that life also begins to move in with its own sense of creativity, breaking your plants down and tearing them apart, turning them into compost in order to grow new orders of consciousness, of realization and of vision that you could not realize without this intercession of my life form. And so I lend my energy to the viruses that tear your societies apart and sets great upheavals in place. I lend my energies to the tornadoes that tear down your buildings. I lend my energies to the sudden snowstorms, heat flashes and forest fires that also ravage your planet, which is me. I have the patience. I have the ability to neutralize these poisons. I have the ability to constantly bring forward energies that present a challenge to you, and know that this is the greatest gift that you can accept, to know that the animals are there with you, that they move into your space exactly when you feel your life is becoming too orchestrated. They remind you that something is yet to be learned from being here, and indeed lessons are taught to you constantly by the most minute of and simplistic of the beings that live on my surface, or that inhabit the bodies of living beings such as yourself that reside on this planet. I am not done with creating, and neither are you. And so when you enter into contact with your spirit animal, when you enter into a communion with the fear that it is offering you to surmount and integrate, you move into a space where you become far more aligned with the totality of the all. You are forced to move into a place where the challenge to your physical security and the challenge to your physical integrity, indeed the challenge to your organs to break down these substances that enter your body and are prodding, provoking, swelling and destroying in some cases. All these are reminders that you are infinite beings, and as infinite beings you create these situations because you wish to take in all experience, all life forms, all the unwanted things that you have been selecting as challenges in your lifetime. They arise exactly because they are different from you, and exactly because they are different from you, you need to realign and readjust your perception of yourself as something that also holds all the unwanted things that you have tried to deselect from your experience. Indeed, your spirit animal is the perfect image of your shadow, that sense of yourself which you do not recognize but which operates in your life. And moving into these, there is great power. Moving into these, there is the transgression of life and death. Moving into these, there is the knowledge that you will one day become as gods yourself, indeed as the Elohim that this channel was about to bring through before he realized that there were other challenges more pertinent for him to experience. And so he was guided to make this channeling on spirit animals, on the animal forces that influence you and lend you their great power through their fierceness, their strangeness, and their odd behaviors, their indifference to your well-being and your integrity. See, not all animals are dogs, rather dogs are animals that have a special frequency in aligning with you, but most animals would indeed prefer that human beings were to leave them alone. And so when you move into these spaces, it becomes a process, much as when you move into the shadow of yourself, that you find fangs exposed, venomous bites threatening you from all sides, threatening you and simultaneously allowing you to face your fears, to face the power that hides within the human body and the human experience. You are releasing this power as great creators upon the world, but you do not do it with the respect of the totality of all that you are, and therefore these environments you create of an artificial nature, as you call it, these remind you that there is something missing, an element of unpredictability, indeed an element of deep fascination that goes missing once you find yourself in a concrete jungle rather than in a true jungle, once you find yourself in a place where the dangers arise exactly from the conditions of human despondency, of the derelict streets that you create filled with trash and rubble that you drive away, and yet your containers, they seem to fill and fill until you create more and more space, and then the rats, they move into the sewers of New York. These beings, they become more and more intelligent. They learn to work the new types of environmental codes that are present even in these environments that you create. I will indeed, when you are done building concrete structures, lend my biological skill to the buildings that will be more conducive to your growth and to your well-being, but I will also begin to recolonize these places of stone, of steel, of marble, and of glass. All these materials I can use in the development of new life forms, and I can use in the combustion of my volcanoes, and as they break forth and release massive energies out onto the earth. I sense that this message has reached you with some degree of understanding and with some hint of the fear that you yourself will have to face in moving into the things that frighten you. And so allow yourself to face the fear of your spirit animals through exposure. Allow yourself to go to these places where you are challenged, and know that even if you are stung by the tutelary poisons of odd beings that keep you up at night and have kept you up at night, being afraid that they might sneak up from out under your pillow or a crack or a crevice in the walls of your safe house, that thing you call a home. Know that these things are only there to guide you and instruct you. So is my energy, so is your spirit, so is your shadow, and so is the love of divine creation. My blessings to you, my animal children with starlight in your eyes. I too love you dearly, as I love all beings on the surface of this world. Blessings to you, human beings. Yes, and and if there was a huntsman spider trying to bite me while I was bringing her through, I hope you will let me know in the comments. That's a joke, guys. Hope this message served you well. It was helpful for me. Much love to you out there.